Imagine spending your entire life chasing one dream. Not happiness, not peace, just wealth. You convince yourself that once you become rich, every problem will disappear. Every sacrifice will finally make sense. Every lonely night, every missed opportunity, every broken relationship will all be worth it. Because in your mind, money is the finish line. And for a while, it looks like you're right. Long ago, in a prosperous city surrounded by olive groves, vineyards, and bustling marketplaces, there lived a young merchant named Asher. He wasn't born into wealth. His father was an honest carpenter whose hands were rough from years of hard work, and his mother woke before sunrise every morning to bake fresh bread for travelers entering the city gates. They never owned much. Yet every evening they gathered around a small wooden table, shared simple meals, laughed together, and thanked God for another day of life. Asher never understood them. He often wondered how people with so little could smile so much. Deep inside, he made a promise that would quietly shape the rest of his life. I will never live like this. One day, I will become the richest man this city has ever known. From that moment, everything changed. While other boys spent their evenings playing in the village streets, Asher studied successful merchants. While families celebrated festivals together, he searched for better trade routes. While neighbors rested and enjoyed the Sabbath, his mind remained occupied with numbers, profits, and opportunities. Years passed, and his determination produced remarkable success. His tiny market stall became a thriving shop. One shop became three. Three became warehouses filled with grain, olive oil, expensive fabrics, and spices from distant lands. Soon, long caravans of camels carried his goods across deserts, and workers lined up every morning waiting for his instructions. Every investment seemed to multiply. Every business decision brought greater profit. People stopped calling him Asher. Instead, they simply called him the rich merchant. His childhood dream had come true. Every morning, servants opened the gates of his magnificent estate. Every evening, accountants arrived carrying heavy ledgers overflowing with profit. His vineyards stretched across the hills, his warehouses overflowed with grain, and silver coins filled his vaults beyond counting. From the outside, he appeared to have everything a man could ever desire. Yet something strange began happening. The richer he became, the less satisfied he felt. The first beautiful house no longer impressed him, so he built an even larger one. One vineyard became two. Two became 5. 1,000 silver coins became 10,000. 10,000 became 100,000. Every achievement brought excitement, but only for a little while. Then the emptiness quietly returned. No matter how much he gained, it was never enough. Each new success only created another desire waiting to be fulfilled. One warm afternoon, while inspecting one of his vineyards, Asher noticed an elderly shepherd resting beneath a large olive tree. The old man wore patched clothing, worn-out sandals, and carried nothing more than a wooden staff beside a simple meal of bread, olives, and water. Yet his face carried a deep sense of peace that Asher hadn't seen in years. Curious, Asher walked over and asked, "Tell me something. You own almost nothing, so why do you look happier than men who own entire cities?" The shepherd smiled gently but didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked back at Asher and asked, "How many vineyards do you own?" "As many as I want," Asher replied confidently. The shepherd nodded. "And how many do you still think about buying?" Asher hesitated before quietly answering, "More." The old man smiled again. "Then you're still poor." Asher frowned. "You don't understand. I have more silver than anyone in this region." The shepherd looked across the valley where the evening sun slowly painted the hills with golden light and quietly replied, "A poor man is not always the one who has little. Sometimes he is the one who can never have enough." Those words refused to leave Asher's mind. He tried to bury himself in work, convincing himself that another successful deal would erase the strange feeling growing inside him. He bought another vineyard, another warehouse, another caravan. Yet every new purchase only reminded him of one uncomfortable question: how much is enough? For the first time in his life, he realized he didn't know the answer. That evening, Asher sat alone inside the largest room of his magnificent estate. The fireplace burned softly while servants quietly moved through the halls preparing expensive meals. The long dining table was covered with fine food, polished silver dishes, fresh fruit, roasted lamb, and wine. Yet not a single chair was occupied. His parents had passed away years earlier. His childhood friends had slowly disappeared. The people surrounding him now were employees, business partners, or men hoping to profit from his success. The silence inside that enormous mansion felt heavier than all the silver locked inside his vaults. For the first time in years, Asher wasn't thinking about money. He was thinking about the shepherd's words. The next morning, another opportunity arrived. A neighboring farmer had fallen into debt after years of drought. The land had belonged to his family for generations, but now he had no choice except to sell it. Asher's advisors quickly gathered around him. "Buy it immediately," they insisted. "The land is worth 3 times the asking price. You'll own nearly the entire valley." The farmer stood quietly before Asher, holding the deed with trembling hands. His wife stood beside him while their 2 frightened children clung tightly to her robe. They weren't asking for charity. They only hoped someone would treat them fairly. For a long moment, Asher stared at the contract in his hands. Then he looked into the farmer's eyes. Inside him, 2 voices battled each other. The old Asher saw another profitable opportunity. But another voice, one he had ignored for years, remembered the shepherd beneath the olive tree. Slowly, Asher rolled the contract closed. The advisors looked at him, confused. Then he quietly said, "I'll pay you the full value of your land." Silence filled the room. One advisor stepped forward in disbelief. "Master, you'll lose thousands of silver coins." Asher smiled gently for the first time in many years. "No," he answered, "I'll lose greed." The farmer fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. His wife covered her mouth in shock, while their children embraced one another with relief. In that single moment, Asher experienced something none of his businesses had ever given him: peace. Weeks turned into months, and something unexpected happened. People no longer respected Asher simply because he was wealthy. They trusted him because he was honest. Merchants traveled greater distances to trade with him because they knew his word could be trusted. Farmers sought his advice because they knew he would never take advantage of their weakness. Families welcomed him into their homes, and children smiled whenever they saw him walking through the village. Ironically, his wealth continued to grow, but for the first time in his life, it no longer controlled his heart. One peaceful evening, Asher returned to the same olive tree where he had first met the shepherd. The old man was still there, quietly watching the sun disappear behind the hills. Asher sat beside him without saying a word. After a long silence, the shepherd smiled. "You found what you were looking for." Asher looked across the vineyard stretching toward the horizon and gently shook his head. "No, I simply stopped looking for the wrong thing." The shepherd smiled again. Neither man spoke another word. They simply watched the sunset together. Perhaps that was the richest moment of Asher's entire life. The Book of Proverbs teaches us that wisdom is worth far more than gold, and understanding is more valuable than silver. Money can build beautiful houses, but it cannot build peace. It can purchase comfort, but it cannot buy contentment. It can attract people, but it cannot create genuine love, trust, or lasting joy. The greatest poverty is not having little. The greatest poverty is believing that just a little more will finally satisfy a heart that has never learned to be grateful. So before you spend your life chasing the next promotion, the next business opportunity, the next investment, or the next paycheck, ask yourself one honest question. If you received everything you've been praying for tomorrow, would it finally satisfy your heart, or would it simply make your hunger even bigger? Because Proverbs reminds us that wisdom is the greatest treasure a person can ever possess, and the one who discovers that is already richer than they realize.